We are live. Hey, Concrete.
Hey girl, what's going
What's-
on with you?
Girl, so much, so much, so much. Um, Curlin just lost one of his aunties to the coronavirus. So
Oh,
that is really, 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 really sad.
yeah,
Um,
that is.
it kind of really hits closer to home because you don't really think that, you kind of hear stuff and you don't really know the seriousness of it until it kind of hits close to you.
Hmm.
And so it's a thing, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that is really sad.
Definitely. Yeah, my niece is in the hospital fighting it off now as we speak. So, yeah, it definitely, once it kind of starts to hit close to home, it makes it kind of surreal almost. So, yeah, I know what you mean,
Right.
child.
Yeah, so that's a thing. And so we're just trying to get it figured out, you know?
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. And from my understanding, they were trying to, I know people were saying like they were kind of discouraging, funerals and gatherings of that sort because of the whole coronavirus epidemic and
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, and the risk that it poses to be in those large groups. Someone was saying something about maybe like doing televised funerals or something like that. But yeah, I know they were kind of trying to advise against it because, for obvious reasons.
Right,
This
right,
is
right.
like, girl, I am telling you, it's like a plague. It's like, I feel like I'm living inside of a movie. It's craziness.
Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. So with all of that going on, um, oh shit. Okay, there we go. Probably I hit a button. Yeah. So what else is
Yeah.
like going on?
Well, not too much for me. I'm working from home. I'm trying to minimize going out in just period, but the only place that I've gone to is the grocery store. And when I go out, I make sure that I'm, being cautious and, I got my gloves and my sanitizer and my wipes and, I strip everything off soon as I come back in the house and, washing and kind of, um, washing myself as soon as I get back in and just trying to take extra precautions and trying to avoid, public places as much as possible. But other than that, not too much going on with me.
It was like the BDSM shit.
Whoa. Okay.
Wait, what now?
Uh when I was looking
um,
at something.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah. But hello to everybody in the chat, everybody that has joined us. We sincerely hope you guys are doing well. Trying to deal with all of this madness. This is absolutely insane. It's something that I've certainly never experienced anything like this in my lifetime, and I'm sure most of you have not either. And just trying to work through it. I know that this is a stressful time for everybody. There's so many moving parts to this whole thing that are involved in it, and it's just absolutely insane. So I am sending all of y'all peace and blessings.
Yeah, yeah, really, to everybody. And y'all, you guys stay safe out there because we're not a lot of us are still kind of out and about and not really taking things as serious. So, it's a thing. It really is a thing. So, you guys just be careful out there.
Danielle, have they? Because from my understanding, like the state of Mississippi, they haven't like closed down the non-essential businesses. I think the governor was saying he's offering up
Girl,
a
people can
prayer
still
or
go
some
shopping out
craziness.
here.
Huh?
Like people can still go shopping. The parks are still open.
Oh wow.
People are just living it up. So
That's kind of scary because I mean, even if the state hasn't been hit hard yet, but I think the biggest thing that I think that we're finding when we're watching the news and stuff is just that they haven't tested enough people to be able to have the numbers to show that a lot more people are affected by this illness than, you know, what we probably realize. That's insane that they still have all the public parks and stuff and everything open. Craziness.
Yeah. So, are you ready to get into the topic?
Yeah, let's get into it.
So, the other day, it was 2 days ago, I went on to the Obsidian show. He had a Zoom cast, and it was an extension from our topic, what happens to women during a crisis. I think that's what it was called. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Obsidian asked me a question. Oh, excuse me. I had a burp. He asked me a question, and he asked me about three men that I would choose between in a time of a crisis, right? And so, of course, you know, you're thinking you're dealing with adults and grown men. Of course, my default answer would always be Curlin. To me, that was a no-brainer. It was a given. Like, bro, you know, if you're thinking it's a given, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, that's not the wrong one. So he gave me C Boogie, Alan Roger Curry, and himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up choosing ARC. Now, I didn't choose. Now, to me, to most women, I think C Boogie would have been the obvious answer because of he's young. I think he's about 31 years old. He's in pretty good shape, and he's a good looking fellow, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Alan Roger Curry, which Alan Roger Curry, I think people are saying that he's 60 years old. I really don't know his true age. Alan Roger Curry is known for his seduction tactics. And I think he's famous for a book called Mode 1,
Mm-hmm.
which I actually just bought a copy of that book maybe about 2 weeks ago. I haven't read it all the way through, but I did buy it because I thought it would be very interesting, you know, seeing his going-ons and or whatever, right? Just, you know, like whatever. I'll buy the book. Let's see what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then Obsidian, which Obsidian is about, I think he's about 50, maybe a little over 50.
Yeah, like 52 or something.
Okay. And he has a cane. So when he asked me about who I would choose, I said,
how you going? Wait, hold on. Back up. You just said you gave a little bit of a bio on each of the gentlemen, and you said, and then Obsidian, he's 52 and he has a cane. Well, what else? So, like, you seriously relegated that to. Okay, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Tell your thing, sis.
Well, I was looking at
it just didn't, the way it came off, I was like, well, dang. I'm sorry.
Okay. So how I was looking at it, you know, when we're sitting there talking and, you know, we're having just a good old time, you know, like, girl, we laughing it up. We ha ha he he. And I'm like, fuck, you know, when he asked me and I really thought about it. So I'll break down the reasons as to why I made the choice that I made, since I didn't give the reason. But I didn't choose C Boogie. C Boogie is was, I don't know, because it ain't my business. It's not anybody else's business. But C Boogie is or was dealing with somebody that I'm cool with, really, really cool with. And so, of course, I wouldn't choose him. Mm-hmm. Obsidian. And so I look at Obsidian and I think Obsidian is really smart. I think Obsidian is smart as shit, right? Mm-hmm. I think he's smart as shit. I think he writes his ass off. I think he is an interesting person. But I was thinking, like, if I got stuck somewhere, how is this nigga gonna be trying to pull me with the goddamn cane? And so,
Okay, I'm about to go.
kept,
I hate you. Oh my gosh.
no,
Really?
I'm serious.
Okay,
So,
go ahead. I'm not making it any better. Let me mute.
so I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm saying to myself, like, like if I'm heavy, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I finally got back down to like 185,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty
you're
heavy.
solid. You solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, I had got up to like 208, but we ain't gonna talk. So I was like, well, he ain't gonna be able to help me, and he ain't gonna be able to run. Like if a shootout happened, he ain't gonna be able to run with that damn cane. Then they was like, well, ARC has diabetes, and you chose ARC because ARC would be the sexy one, and God damn it,
But
you
gonna have
want
to get him his
ARC,
injections.
girl. But ARC is So how I looked at it, I'm like, okay, ARC is he's older, but ARC seems to have some oomph to himself, and that's not why I chose him.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, he seems protective. Like what I've seen from him, he seems protective of his fiance, and
I didn't know he was engaged.
Yeah, honey, he's engaged to a young woman. I think she's about 26 to 29. I don't know.
All I hear him talk about is all his sexcapades and the different women and what he's done to women. So I mean, I just thought he was an older thought, but I had no clue that he was engaged. So okay, so you've seen how he is with his fiance. So that gives some context to your reasoning.
Yes. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I choose ARC. And so Obsidian was like, well, what do you know about these guys? These guys don't talk about, have you ever heard them talk about a pandemic or anything? And to be honest with you, no, I haven't. I haven't heard C Boogie talk about a pandemic. I haven't heard ARC talk about a pandemic. I've never heard either or. Mm-hmm. But I told Obsidian, now when Obsidian ended up playing a clip on Bernard Riley's channel. Shout out to Bernard.
Mm-hmm. He in the chat talking smack.
Per usual. Per usual. So when he played the clip, of course, he didn't play the whole clip. And I'm like, okay, I listened to Obsidian more than I've listened to C Boogie and ARC combined, right? Now, with me listening to Obsidian, honey, we've got to know Obsidian in a certain sense. You know what I'm saying? Like we've got to see Obsidian in action. Obsidian can be crazy, or he can be very takeover-ish. So it was like, it's Obsidian. Now Obsidian is like a dude, like what's up, dude? Like hey,
he like one of the homies. Obsidian is like one of the homies. Okay, I got you.
And so I just thought that ARC would be the most viable option, since I wouldn't choose C Boogie because of what I knew. And then, I kept thinking about Obsidian with that damn cane. Like if I got into the bind and shit and he had to, does he have one of those real canes to where it's got the hook on it? And I gotta grab
He claims that his cane is a weapon, child, that he could do some damage with them canes. That they're specialized, and so that's what he claimed. But
he got one of them 007
it turns into a sword or something, child. It got magic powers, all type of stuff. So. But okay, so being that this was a hypothetical question, why is it though that you couldn't consider C Boogie? Just out of my curiosity, because of course ARC is attached to someone. I believe Obsidian is engaged. Well, not engaged, but has like a longtime girlfriend or something. So being that it was a hypothetical question, why didn't you feel that C Boogie was even in the running?
Because my homegirl, I got somebody that's close to me that has dealt or that deals with somebody I'm cool with that I knew that had some dealings with him. So I'm not going to pick him. Girl, now I'm don't get me, because I done opened up the chat early as fuck. So
girl, wait, hold on, Danny.
Okay. I'm gonna hold on.
Wait a minute. So because it was a hypothetical question, so let me give my take. regarding this question, and this question and the conversation surrounding it is what started, or kind of, I think there was a large segment of Bernard's panel where they were kind of discussing Danny's response. And I was on Obsidian's panel when she responded, and I saw the responses, and I just felt like they were being blown out of proportion. But I want to say
now Bernard led the charge. Bernard kept saying, like, "Oh my gosh, she was over there squirming in her seat."
Bernard was saying that in Obsidian's chat, and I'm like, really, Bernard? Like, you gassing it? Stop.
But niggas will put tens on something.
Oh my gosh,
Bernard.
I was like, I didn't see. That's not what I gathered from your response. But I understand, like, okay, because I don't know much about ARC other than he always talks about his like sexcapades from like the 80s or whatever. And like, so I didn't know much about him. So I was thinking, like, because he is, he talks about, he's very, a lot of his conversation is regarding kind of his game and how he puts it down. So I was thinking, like, that's why they surmised that you were turned on or something by ARC, and that's why you chose him. But in reference to the question, it was one of those bait questions. Everybody down there, you guys know, and hey to everybody in the chat, I'm sorry if I didn't already speak to you guys, but you guys know how Obsidian is, and he does these bait questions. Obsidian, even on that specific panel, we talked about my comment regarding him being a narcissist, and I truly do believe that. And I think that the question was another way for Obsidian to stroke his own ego. So he throws these questions out where he's the most likely viable response. So he wants to stroke his own ego. So it was one of those bait questions. So me personally, I wasn't on. He had me muted up at the time, so I didn't get to answer the question. But I wouldn't have answered it because it was a bait question, and I just would have passed. But if you do, like, there's no right or wrong answer. It was based off of, in that quick, however many seconds, what she felt, who she felt was, the best option or the best man for the job, and she chose who she chose. I just think the reasoning was blown out of proportion.
But I just felt like ARC would probably be the most secure. He doesn't seem to carry a lot of baggage. He seems very sure of himself. He doesn't really look for a lot of validation from women, from what I've seen. Now, they could be different. I'm just saying, from what I've seen in that quick moment, that's just what I was like, yeah, I'll go with ARC. And I didn't think anything of it. The Obsidian and I had a long discussion prior to the question, and we talked about the dating and mating choices women have made in the past. And we've had plenty of conversations about that. And so then it kind of pissed me off because they'd say, well, look who she choose in a time of crisis. Oh my gosh, she could choose ARC and he's boy. And I'm like, okay, well, ARC hasn't had any children out of wedlock. Now he has his fiance pregnant.
Doesn't he have? Wait, he got. Okay, but anyways, he doesn't have any other children aside from the one that's on the way.
No.
Oh, okay, interesting. To be
never been married before.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's never been married before. He seems to make a good living for himself. And like I said, he seems he seemed like the best option to me, that I felt like I could choose. And
okay. So to be completely honest, I just think that it was not a fair question. Like, when I'm thinking of, and I talked a little bit about this too, like, during this crisis, I feel so secure because of, protection is the last thing that I even have to think about, because my fiance is here. We are well protected. We have protection. We have cameras. So I feel so secure, and I don't have an intimate knowledge of anyone else's situation that is on YouTube to think that there would be something comparable out there. However, just thinking, trying to play the game. So if I were to play along, Boogie does have military training. He looks to be like he's a strong guy and can probably handle himself. So, I mean, Obsidian is strictly going off of the basis that he talks about the pandemic and he's researching it and you know what I mean, which is good and that's smart and that's responsible, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the option that someone will pick because you have this, you know, you're knowledgeable or you're seeking knowledge currently as we're going through this and trying to stay informed about what's going on. That, you know, that's only one element of what a woman would need during this time.
Chi-Town Facts said he's not married, so he is going to have a child out of wedlock. So what if they tie nuptials prior to her having the child before the child actually comes onto the earth? Is that still out of wedlock? Because I thought as long as they were married before the child actually entered the earth, then it's not out of wedlock. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. But well, we're going to talk about it because we want to talk about so that was the basis of why we chose the topic that we chose. But we also want to explore why Black women make the choices that they do in a time of crises. I think there are a myriad of reasons behind why women choose the way that they choose. But being that this is a crisis, I don't think that merely having intellect alone is going to make you the best option for every woman. You know what I mean? There has to be some other things that are taken into consideration, i.e., and I think that most women, like the primary thing that most women are going to want to ensure that they have in a man is going to be protection and security. So if there is any question about whether or not you can protect them because, you know, you walk with a cane or, you know, whatever the reason may be, maybe
he was gonna beat their ass with the cane, girl. I don't know.
But I'm just saying that's something that a woman is gonna think about. She's gonna be like, okay, well, you know, can this, especially when we're talking about in a crisis, we're talking about that should be something that is under consideration too. And you know, there are other things too. Are you resourceful? You know, how good are you with your hands? You know what I mean? Like if we have to get out here and rough it, you know what I mean? How much of an asset would you be? In addition, like your financial resources is also going to be something that is considered. You know, are you a person that's pleasant and easy to get along with? Which most people would say no when it comes to Obsidian. So like, these are things that also need to be considered. It's not strictly, okay, I'm researching this pandemic, I have knowledge of it, and so that makes me the best choice for every woman. That's not going to be the case, unfortunately. You know, it's just not.
Well, maybe he was gonna hit him with one of them damn books. I don't fucking know.
Which is possible. That's possible, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I don't see why there's so much much alarm regarding the response that you gave. Whatever, you know, you had a split second.
But the whole thing was when I started laughing, Bernard, she was squirming in her seat. You know, she really wanted that nigga. Oh my God, she was squirming. Oh, did you see that? I
don't know where Bernard was coming from with that stuff, because I'm like, really? What are you talking about?
And so I'm sitting there. When I started laughing, I was laughing because I was like, I can't say nothing about C-Bug. And so that made me laugh because that, to me, that would have probably been the first choice. And it wouldn't have been because C-Boogie was a fuckboy. It would have been because C-Boogie is physically stronger and he looks like he's younger. And so with somebody that's in shape and younger, most women would have chosen the in shape and younger guy. But I said why I didn't make that choice.
But then they'll say, well, you're choosing F-boys and you're choosing, like, I mean, it really goes. Okay, so we could play this game and ask the women in the chat, and, you know, have women come on and chime in, like, what's more important to you, and give a list of things, whether, you know, security, intellect, you know, there's going to be, if we had to list everything from the highest that we're prioritizing it to the least, everybody's list is going to vary. So, you know, you can't say for me, protection is key, because maybe I saw someone get abused, or maybe I was previously, you know, abused by someone. So I want to make sure that my man can look out for himself, or maybe I was assaulted and I want to make sure he can defend me. Whatever the reason is behind it, everybody's list is going to vary regarding what they find as, you know, what they're going to have as their top priority, and, you know, on down. So, You know,
Right.
I just don't think there's a right or wrong answer to these types of questions. However, you'll be crucified if you don't choose who they feel is.
If I didn't choose Obsidian, then it was like, being that I didn't choose Obsidian, and I guess if you're once a fuckboy, always a fuckboy. And so if they're saying that about a man who is engaged to his fiance, and I don't know the dynamics of their relationship, but he doesn't seem to be carrying on fuckboy tendencies at this moment, from what I've seen. And so it's like, okay, if a guy has never had children, he doesn't have kids out of wedlock, he's engaged, he is with this woman, they're building their life together, that shows stability to me. Obsidian doesn't ever want to be married. He said he's a lifelong bachelor. From what I've heard, Obsidian does seem to carry some baggage, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I think we all do.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I feel like the baggage kind of comes from the things that he saw happen with his mom and grandmother.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah, so I kind of felt like it was some of those things that happened that, he might still carry, and he sees that. And I'm not saying I would be the last one to say that he is wrong about some of the things that he says about women. And I don't agree with everything that he says about women, but I do think he is hella correct in a lot of things that he say.
And so I don't like those narrow, like those questions where there's kind of like a narrow, they're minimizing your ability to respond. So why not? They're going to say, okay, we want to see, how Black women operate. So they, ask you a question like, Danny, if you had to choose one man throughout Black YouTube besides Curlin, during a time of crises to partner up with, because you think that, because you felt that he would have all of the things that you need or that you're looking for, or that you would require a man to have during a crisis, who would you choose? As opposed to like that's a fair question, as opposed to a bait question, that you're using to stroke your own ego.
Yeah, honey. So
let's go ahead and open it on up and chop it up with the people and see what their thoughts are on our topic.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Are you ready to be dominated?
You lesbian.